Hi everyone, welcome once again to the 24-bit podcast. We're going to discuss some interesting things, but as usual I'm joined by
Dickson Otieno, techish.com,
and Nixon Kanali from Tech Trends.
I'm Chenze Emmanuel from 100kenya.com. Now, Kenya has been going through some trying times, to put it in very interesting words, and we are recording this on a Saturday. That is 2 days since we marked the first month since the occupation of Parliament. And the occupation of Parliament, at least I think according to many people, was like the peak of the protests that have rocked Kenya, that the media has in a very controversial way called the Gen Z protest, but basically Kenyans have been protesting against bad governance and all of those things. It started with a protest against the finance bill that has since been withdrawn, but then descended into calls for the president to step away from the presidency and all of those things. We are here now. One of the things that we discussed in our last episode, that was episode 74, so this makes it episode 75, was that, and I asked this question and Dickson was very clear what happened. It was an internet shutdown. So in the wake of that, we had enough calls, influencers cutting ties with Safaricom, and there was constant clamor for what now are our alternatives. We are tied. Looks like Kenyans and Safaricom are like Siamese twins, like basically tied at the hip. So if you're going to divorce Safaricom, what happens? Now, this podcast is not about divorcing Safaricom, but we're going to focus on something that has been there for years and that came out strongly from everyone's suggestions, because they're the player that is best placed to be like the most competitive, to offer Safaricom the most competition, like the best placed. And then we're going to explore if they are really taking that seriously, what they are doing, their misdeeds as well, what our perspectives are and everything. So we're talking about Airtel Kenya, if by now you haven't joined the dots. And gentlemen, we are going to start. First things first, do you guys have Airtel SIMs? I have one. Do you?
I use Airtel right now. I think both of you can confirm. I've been calling you with Airtel for about 3 weeks. Full time.
Actually, I've been using Airtel for the longest time now, for years actually. So I have an Airtel SIM card that I actively use actually.
Okay. And
do you?
Yeah, I've started by saying I have an Airtel SIM. I've kept my 0734 for the longest time now. Yeah. And
I had a 0732 after high school. I don't know what happened. Nikai register wakati wa mass registration. When was it? There was a mass registration kitambo. Before year juzi. And then juzi nikirudi ku register, it's no longer mine and I have the SIM card. But it's working. I have been using it.
Have you been topping up?
Then naambiwa ati hapana, it's registered to someone else. So you're like,
because if normally there are CA obligations that the mobile network operators have to comply with. You align us to stay active within a 90-day period. Beyond that it's deactivated and then reassigned to somebody else. That's why if you have a relative that has passed on, you can call their number and find somebody else
already took it.
Or if you travel abroad and stay there for so long, find your line doesn't work. Even though Safaricom came up with a solution working around that. So guys going abroad now have an active solution to constantly keep their lines. But anyway, that was a detour when Dickson was telling us about his 0732.
I have a 38. Yenye ukicall mtu anasema inaleta Truecaller a certain name.
Na jana nimeona Deno texted me with a 0780.
For
everyone else listening, and if you're watching, Deno is the guy who edited our last video. So he's a friend of ours. He has a 0780. So that's also Airtel.
It's also Airtel. Because I have a
078 something is Airtel, 073 of course. 0701 nimesahau 001 ama 010. One of them is Airtel. Then there was a 5 something is also Airtel. I don't know, 57 or 58, one of them.
Interesting. Now, from your perspective, now Dickson has told us he's now moved, like Airtel is his main line. Can you share reasons why?
I shared, I think before June, I moved to Airtel when I shared on Twitter about the Airtel Premier plans, because I've always been an Airtel customer.
Actually,
not Airtel, Safaricom Postpay.
Airtel Premier, it was before all this.
It was way before. So I realized Airtel have something called Airtel Premier, but the problem is you have to go to a physical Airtel shop to fill a form. It's so stupid. But I went, filled the form, I pay them 3K, and currently I get how much? I get about 72 GB, I guess. 75 GB.
A month.
Yes, around 2,000 minutes, 1,000 minutes, I've forgotten, and then around 500 SMSs or 1,000 SMSs. So I found that to be way cheaper than Safaricom Postpay, and my use has been okay. My only problem is every time you make a call, there's a pop-up telling you have spent 0 shillings.
Yeah.
I hate those pop-ups. I don't know why it lets me pop up and it switches on the phone screen. So unaweza the next morning battery yako drain because of a pop-up that was on the screen. But anyway,
that reminded me, I just got a notification. Was it yesterday that my amazing, because during the that shutdown, I actually subscribed to the Airtel 12 GB with free WhatsApp bundle. So it was expiring the other day. I remember getting the notification and them telling me, if you deactivate your bundle if you renew within a day, you will get whatever remains of the bundles. I think I still had like a GB remaining. Anyway, to take you back, a month before, was it a month, 2 months? No, a month before the start of the protest. We did a road trip around East Africa with you. We went to the DRC border. We went all over UG and all the way close to the Rwandan border. And personally, my carrier of choice throughout was Airtel. I was using my Airtel SIM because they have it's called what? One Africa?
Airtel One Africa.
They are One Africa roaming
just
bundles.
Before that, it was a month before that, we're going to launch new plans for One Africa. So we enjoyed the 10 GB for 2K across.
I think that's what I got, and I also spent another extra 1,000 buying 200 minutes that are for use. They have a specific package for Rwanda and Uganda, and I bought that. So that way I was able to call you people like I'm still here at home, no changes, and then I was able to stay online throughout, use
backup photos, Auto, Google Maps,
all of those things, and it was fantastic.
Compare those to
Safaricom
prices, unakumbuka?
And I think some of us did use Airtel Money in UG. Actually, we fueled at a petrol station it was Arubis in Kabale, and we paid via Airtel Money. And you remember when we were the place we were staying, when we were paying for food, we sent that Mzee Mohammed. We sent him money from our Airtel Money, because I remember doing that. So it came through like that kind of integration came through. Anyway, that said, Nick, are you using Airtel as your main SIM? If not, why? When are you planning to do it?
I don't. It's my secondary SIM, because I'm still stuck to Safaricom. But of course, I use Airtel for so many things. Especially, I think they have very nice data packages, so I'm stuck with that. And recently, I switched to their Airtel 5G router, which I think now has stopped me from buying so much data. So since it's very, a very portable, free power bank, which we'll talk about later, so that has stopped me from spending so much money on data, because I can just carry the router, nitupe kwa gari, kwa nyuma kwa kiti, and I'm able to actually just use it when I'm moving, especially around Nairobi. But I'm not, Airtel is my secondary SIM, but I still use it. Actually, in fact, when I'm calling home my parents, we use Airtel most, because it's interesting because how Airtel has a very strong network in our shags in my village in Kitale, but Safaricom is just off. So when we speak, it's usually Airtel. In fact, my dad uses Airtel actually. Kabisa is his main line. So so I use Airtel, and of course a lot of other things we're going to talk about later. But I use it as my secondary SIM, especially when I'm calling home because of the data packages, and also they're calling. There's this thing they call, do you buy a package for a week? I don't know. I will check later. Then you use it and just call unlimited across the week. So something like that. So I use the Airtel. So let me just say that.
You've taken us faster because we were going to discuss this much later, but since you are there, let me ask you about it. What has been your experience with the Airtel 5G router? Because from where I sit, I haven't used the 5G router. I remember they invited me to the launch, and I just couldn't make it. The timing was off and all of those, and I had other commitments. But they invited me to the launch. You guys were at the launch. Dickson, you were there. Right?
No, I did. I was there.
Nick was there, and you've had this router. Dickson, you've had it. Nick has had it. So how was the experience been? And then we'll just talk about Airtel 5G now that we are starting there.
Yeah. So the router was actually given to me by Airtel when I went for the launch. So I didn't actually buy it. So of course they give it with no data. So I had to buy that on my own. And I picked the 10 Mbps package, which is actually 3,500 Kenyan shillings, which is unlimited. I need to specify that. And my experience has been, of course, I use it actually in the house, and here so I switch between Safaricom, Home Fiber, and that. And two things I noted. So since their 5G coverage is not really that strong, they're still maybe trying to aggressively expand the network. So the network kept switching between 4G and 5G. And the good thing with that router is you can actually do that because the router is 4G, 5G. So come there's a unlimited network in 5G limited network, it switches to 4G. So that's a very good thing. In the house, it switches between 4G and 5G, but when I'm here in the office, it actually sticks to 5G, and it's actually not bad. Not bad. I'm curious I'm thinking maybe I should try a higher package, but the 10 Mbps package I'm using, I haven't actually had any issues. And the best thing about it is the portability, is that they've added an extra power bank to that. So you can easily power it straight from a power source, but still charge that power bank in case time imepotea, like what happens to us the other day. You can easily use that power bank to actually power the router. And during my experience, it took me like 4 to 5 hours, that power bank, which is actually very good.
When we were having this blackout,
exactly,
that lasted more than a week.
Yeah, so I'll come in the office here, charge it, then go back to the house. Of course, at night to use it kidogo. Yeah, so 4 5 hours, that power bank, which actually very, I don't know, it's trying. I haven't tried it outside Nairobi because I really want to experience that. Maybe I should try when I go to Kitale next week. I'll try it and see how strong the network is, because of course Airtel is talking about expanding their 5G coverage by some percentage, which we're going to check later. But my experience so far, so good, apart from first the fluctuations in different places where I wish it could just stick to, if it's 5G, let's stick to 5G. So I know if I'm paying for the 5G unlimited, that's what I'm getting, instead of it switching across different networks. But so far so good, I can't complain. If I'm to rate it, actually I'm going to give it maybe a 7 out of 10.
Okay, fine. I'm going to ask you a specific question. I've heard enough things about the power bank.
Yes. So here's what happened. So my power bank died on me. Yeah. So it died on me.
Died as in Elisha charge?
No.
Stopped working altogether.
Stopped working. So of course I made a few calls and got an extra power bank. And I walked into an Airtel shop at Sarit. So I spoke to the guy, told him, hey, power bank imekufa. Is it possible for me to get an extra power bank? So it's actually very hard because you have to buy, and
the power bank comes with the router.
Yeah, it comes with the router. So unless you actually bought it, like me, where it was given to me by Airtel, so it wasn't under warranty. I know if you buy it from an Airtel shop, it comes with a warranty. So ukienda a 1 year warranty, I think 24 months. So if you go and tell them the power bank died, they actually give you a wall set. I will say it. Yeah. Okay. In fact, when you check in this office, I have the two two of them. But that doesn't have a power bank. Yeah. So the guy told me, by the way, I'm not the first person to complain about the power bank. I'm like the third person who has come to the shop complaining about the power bank. So he told me they're trying to talk to Airtel to see what they can do. That because there's a problem which they're hoping Airtel can fix. Yeah.
They're talking to Airtel, not Siri.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So the power bank, it's there are some complaints about them dying, just like that. Because me, I was just in the office, nikaka charge higher. It was not charging. Yeah.
Because from where I sit, what made me like that Airtel 5G router when they launched it was the pricing. The pricing.
Yeah, it's 2,000.
I think 3K because they launched it at a very bad price. I remember last year it was 25K, then it was free, and then right now you have to buy it
like 3,000, 2,999. Yeah,
it's a
2,999. That's 3,000.
So 3K.
Yeah, 3K.
Let me.
It was very expensive. Then they slashed prices to compete with Safaricom. Then I think there was a point where you were paying 3,500 and getting the power bank plus a plan.
Yeah.
Because last year when they launched it, it was going for a whole 10K, right?
I know.
Yes.
But last year
it was 10K. Then
was
3K.
madness because Safaricom had theirs for 25K.
K
Yeah.
It
plus
was crazy.
setup fee.
Yeah.
And still, even Safaricom right now,
What
they
is
reduced their
last
price
year?
to 10 Gs, right?
They did come back. When was it? November. In November last year, when they reduced their prices by about 60%. So from me, the takeaway was now there is this. It's a 5G router and it's relatively cheap.
Yeah.
And they have nice packages. I think there was like 3K, 3,500
Yes.
package. That I thought if I'm traveling, that's very
That
good.
works
me.
for you.
Yeah.
But
Now,
if you're traveling now, network.
now
that's the thing,
thing.
yeah.
Now we're going to talk about how is for you guys. How has Airtel's 5G coverage been? Now I'll speak. When we were doing the East African trip with Dickson and other friends, I had the Samsung Galaxy S24, the base model, and of course it has 5G. But for some reason, ahead of the trip, because I've had the Airtel 4G SIM for the longest time, ahead of the trip I went town to the Airtel shop. Which street is this? Muindi Mingo or something. It's like the main Airtel shop. I went there wanting to get a 5G SIM, and I clearly indicated that, and I paid the 100 bob. They still gave me a 4G SIM. So the entire trip, while these guys were enjoying 5G speeds in Uganda, I wasn't able to get 5G. So I have zero experience with Airtel.
You still
5G.
cannot get 5G.
Yeah, I need to go back and get a 5G SIM.
I never knew there's a 5G.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask that. Yeah.
What do I need to do? Because I never had 5G on Airtel on my S24. Yet I'd put even the Airtel line as the main line because Safaricom was taking the back seat when we were traveling because I couldn't roam the expensive. It never worked.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 5G.
I know
And on
for a-
Safaricom, I'd still get my 5G on that phone. So I don't know if it was a phone issue. I don't know what was going on.
Could be a phone issue because I have
Right now, I have Airtel on the Infinix Note 40 Pro that I'm using, but of course, this is not a 5G phone.
5G
phone,
Yeah.
because I have an Airtel SIM card it's been those old SIM cards zile za kitambo, and I still get 5G.
I have had a very interesting experience with Airtel. I think everything is working well for me. I'm on their premier plans. I'm getting good data speeds na vitu kaizo. But before here, I've had the funniest experiences with Airtel. I think 2016 or 2017, I don't know, but I have it documented on my blog. My network just disappeared. I was at home na Airtel ilipotea kwa simu. I switched off the phone, nika restart, nika call Airtel, nikafanya nini. I even had a customer care session with Bati Airtel, wakicall wakiuliza juu ya SIM card na nini, just from Twitter na making noise on Twitter and calling customer care. You know what solution was? Dickson, go to Airtel, get a new SIM card. So he went, replaced the SIM card. Kirudi home, network iko. The funniest thing na hii experience was that nikiwa home kwetu hakuna network. Nikikuja kwa barabara network iko. But immediately I changed my SIM card, niliadvisiwa nikirudi home kulikuwa na network. So there was an issue hapo hiyo. Last year I went to Rwanda driving the original time I went to Rwanda. Nimeland na nimebuy your one Airtel before they revamped the new prices. My data could not roam. My SIM card could not roam at all. Unajaribu kuswitch on inakataa kuroam. Una restart inakataa kuroam. I DM Airtel Kenya, they tell me they don't know the issue, but when you're back in Kenya, get a new SIM card.
Yeah.
So I came back to Kenya, got a new SIM card. When I drove to Rwanda, it was working very well. When we went to Uganda, it was working very well. So I've had issues where SIM card ya Airtel is the cause of the problem. So when you're saying
so mine could be
just the SIM card.
Wow. What a way to have customers. Anyway, before we go into those many Airtel wars, 5G. So how was your experience with the 5G network?
This is what I've seen because there was a time I know I've been documenting about 5G coverage on Techish, and I used to post screenshots of speed tests. Safaricom 5G in Mombasa, Safaricom 5G in Nairobi, Safaricom 5G but never at that point had I seen Airtel 5G. So when Airtel 5G once showed up, it was on an Infinix 0 something I was reviewing at home. So naangalia the network bapale and all of a sudden I can see Airtel 5G. But from my experience with Airtel 5G, the rollout speed has been very, very fast. I think I even covered it on Techish about the speed in November 2023, the speed at which Airtel has launched 5G, because they were last, not last per se, but they came after Safaricom.
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
5G.
yeah.
But then the announcement of 5G sites was way higher than Safaricom sites at their launch, because where is it? Airtel, by the time I was writing this in November, had availability in 32 counties, while Safaricom had 32, Airtel had 35, I think, at launch. But then Airtel has proven that when rolling out imekuwa very fast. Because I think there was a time kitambo we had of Nokia and Airtel partnership, I think 3-4 years ago. So their rollout for 5G has been very fast. But from my experience with speed tests, the speeds are not as high as perhaps we were sold when 5G was being advertised there. Because the peak nimepata ni 120, 140 Mbps.
Interesting.
Yeah, actually, Dickson is right, because I think we were sold 5G is
Way
fast.
faster.
That's when you do the tests. It's almost the same thing you'll get with 4G actually.
4G plus,
not really different actually. Just to go back to what you said, so during the launch, when they were launching this 5G, when they were announcing these 5G unlimited plans and the new router, so Airtel was talking about how they're going to, the network is now accessible 5G in 39 counties and 285 wards, across the country from up to, so when they launched to 16 counties, now they're in 39, and they also increased their 5G, so their 5G sites, they are now 690. But when they launched, they were just 372. So when you look at that, I mean, that's a very big.
Yeah, maybe my takeaway was their rollout was very, very fast.
It's really fast, because from 370 during launch to 690, that's a very. They're being very ambitious.
Now, when we've described all of that, they're having the router, they're having a 5G network whose speeds are not so bad, even though there are some teething issues. And of course, there's been demand by Kenyans, the context we provided about the protests that have been ongoing, and there's been a clamor for like a very strong alternative to Safaricom and Safaricom services. What has been, we'll discuss Airtel Money later, so we can leave it out for now. But from your assessment, what has been Airtel's response? Is their response enough? Are they doing anything? And for anyone listening, by the way, Airtel has not sponsored this podcast, just our observations.
I think Airtel are very lazy. That's such a line kukuja after umesema not sponsored. I think Airtel are so lazy because it's not the first time there's been a clamor for an option for Kenyans for telecommunications. Kumekuwa na very many people advocating for the advocating against the absolute dominance that Safaricom has enjoyed in the market. Airtel in a offer.
They don't like you saying it's dominance, but it is what it is.
Dominance is dominance when you're above 60%. Dominance is only wrong if
Last
you
I checked, it was what, 67?
Yeah.
Yes, but also 67 is only 67 when you say 67 and forget that it's 99 in mobile money. So dominance is only bad if abused, but then a lot of laws as a business about how dominance is abused in subtle ways, but that's not the point of the podcast. The point is Airtel has always been the better option, is not the right word, but because anytime we've had a prize was in Kenya for the last 10-15 years, it has always been started by Airtel. Remember their campaign
Unlimited.
Unlimited. When
Unlimited had Safaricom poaching a whole executive from Airtel to join them. I mean,
you remember when they said they're slashing prices as call to call. We've had FT what nini hizo mobile termination rates really dropping. Safaricom saying it's not good to drop them. Airtel advocating for that drop na hizo vitu zote. But I still feel like this drive ya kupush Airtel has not haijashika venye inafaa kushika. I think it's just because of laziness. One, I know there are rules against giving SIM cards for free, sindio? That's why maybe Airtel cannot start dishing out SIM cards all over. But for the
sijaisikia Nairobi soundtrack line ya Airtel ni free.
Wakati ilikuwa inasemwa.
Yeah, there was a time. There was a time. Yeah.
I think kulikuwa I'm not sure about my argument hapo, but the few customers Airtel have, wakati unaona ana complain on Twitter about a small thing not being sorted out, and you're there thinking of switching to Airtel, unaona kuna issue. 2, network coverage ya Airtel, yes, the smartphone network, but it was for a while marketing itself as the strongest network, but uko ushago na huwezi pata Airtel 1 the network. 2, huwezi pata Airtel shop. Remember, a lot of people thinking of buying data, thinking of buy bundles na nini is a problem when you're buying when you have an Airtel SIM card. Kujiuliza nitatoa wapi airtime, nitatoa wapi nini. Yeah, because Safaricom kuna venye ilijitoa kwa the idea buy scratch cards na nini with M-Pesa. But for many people,
did they stop altogether? Is there any way I can go and buy a scratch card?
Yes, you can still buy.
Yeah, you still buy scratch cards.
Because I remember the last time I was flying to Nigeria and to take advantage of one African, because I didn't have time, I just walked into a supermarket because I was expensing that to someone else and bought some scratch cards for Airtel, which I physically loaded into my line, and then bought bundles to use in Nigeria. And because Nigeria is the way it is, I ended up tethering from the phone to my computer the entire time. I was there, and that's how I survived. And the Airtel network was very strong there. Yeah.
And
kidogo tu. So mimi, what I say when I say Airtel is lazy is kumekuwa na options za avenues mingi za them just come out with the best marketing, best nini. When Kenyans wanauliza what do I do, kama juzi when people were saying I want to quit Safaricom, but then you're seeing Airtel doesn't push, there's no direct push on come to us, acquire customers. One, their Twitter used to be fun, now it's just a boring mess here.
It used to be
but now you don't see that. 2, as an Airtel customer, ukiambia mtu Airtel Premier is so good, then you have to go physically to a shop, unachoka. 3, just the localization of advertisement. Kuna wakati wanafanya advertisement poa sana, but then kuna wakati it just doesn't hit home vizuri.
Because my question is,
experience?
I mean, when you travel across West Africa, for example, you tell how their network is really good, really, really good. So I'm always thinking,
I don't know.
Is it that they're just not serious about this market, or how much? Because,
but if you think about it,
Airtel had fast mover advantage. Now, if you are to deviate from its existence right now as Airtel Kenya, in which it's part of the global Bati Airtel brand and all of that. But Airtel had first mover advantage when Safaricom was still a department of Telecom Kenya, and around the time they were being licensed for telecommunications operations. Also, Airtel then got a certification, like the license to operate locally. And for most people who got those very early mobile phones, they had a cancel SIM. So over the years, Airtel's predecessors made lots of bad moves that had them now completely losing the market share. And I think that's the difference between the Kenyan operation and the others. Maybe the others, because we now have Airtel Africa, and I think they do have an office around. The others, I don't know the history of, say, Airtel in Nigeria and the likes, but I don't think the others had such mistakes. You know, like for instance, Cancel was late to the per second billing bandwagon, and that meant it lost some people. Airtel was led to cascading the Airtime vouchers to affordable levels. You could either buy a 1,200 or a 600 bob, and then later they had a 300. While at that time, Safaricom came with from 1,500, and then they had a 250, and they had great marketing around it, like you are slicing your cake. And we went to Bamba 50, which is a huge movement, and then went all the way down to 20, 10, even 5.
Yeah, even 5.
And then other innovative products like the Okwajaz, like you can get airtime up front, and then when you top up next, we will deduct our money. Those kinds of things over the years meant that Airtel in Kenya lost market share. So I don't know what else was happening in other markets, like say Uganda, in Nigeria, and that West African market that they have on a chocolate. I don't know what happened there. But in Kenya, there are lots of systematic mistakes. So over time, Safaricom built a war chest. And of course, before the elephant in the room, M-Pesa happened, and it all had all of us locked in one door and not moving, because Airtel's predecessors again advocated a lot for mobile number portability. It came like basically you can move with your Safaricom line with their network. It never had any impact. I'm not sure if it's even a thing. If it's even a thing today.
I called Airtel customer care. I asked them about number portability. The agent told me it should be working. Then I told her, how do I do it? Then akaniweka online for about 2 minutes. Then we wakati alirudi online akasema it's no longer working. So number portability
it's dead now. But
I know a couple of friends when you 38 zao ni Safaricom, 27 zao ni Airtel.
No, when it worked a while back, I think the uptake wasn't good. Somebody shared the numbers some few years back. Almost no one was moving. The numbers were extremely low, but
it wasn't marketed well. I think
no, the marketing, who's supposed to do the marketing? Who does it benefit? Safaricom is not going to do marketing for Airtel for anything that benefits Airtel. It's up to Airtel to do the marketing, because they do such a terrible job. Even now, if you go to some of the tech sites in Kenya, you'll see heavy marketing by Kenyan entrepreneurs on how to buy Airtel airtime using their pay bills and all of those M-Pesa and everything. Where is Airtel in this?
And the funniest thing is, if you dial *14, Airtel ni 133 to buy nini ama you find buy with M-Pesa is literally embedded to their USSD. If you're buying data, if you're buying plans, you can still buy with your M-Pesa.
And it works when it wants anyway. I've had mixed experiences with this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Enough times I've actually had to use a third-party pay bill. Pesapal has something that works.
I mean, that's what I use actually most of the time when I'm buying.
I find the Pesapal one very easy to use.
Maybe my Airtel experience buying data, nini imework with M-Pesa.
And the other thing we're not saying is, much as Airtel as it was, they have a very good app.
Yes, actually, the app is very good.
The app works when it wants. I remember when we were traveling, it frustrated the hell out of me. But it does. They have integrated DPO.
DPO payment.
So I remember when I'm traveling outside Kenya and for some reason I forgot, I'll actually pay using my card, and it works. But it works like again the USSD thing. It works when it wants. Now to Airtel Money. What has your experience been with Airtel Money? Do you even use it at all?
Now, the first time I used Airtel Money, actually I sent money from my M-Pesa. You know how they do the portability? I sent money to my Airtel from my M-Pesa.
Juicy.
Like almost 3 months ago.
Or when the Central Bank of Kenya made it a law that send money in Kenya, hakuna send to other network. Now just send money.
Exactly. So
Safaricom and send money to other network.
So I did that. The money never reflected. Then after like almost 2 days, I was refunded back the money to my M-Pesa account. So that was my last experience with that. Then I've never.
I have an Airtel Money account. I don't actively use it for anything apart from just paying for my previous plans. Because if you pay with Airtel Money, or if you buy a boost for Airtel Premier, you get 25% bonus. That's why I have Airtel Money. I have written about Airtel Money. I think 2015, 2016, I wrote about Airtel Money a lot. Mpaka I had a sit down with someone from Airtel asking kama nachukia Airtel. I think 2018 or 2017, we had a sit down with someone from Airtel. And I was like, the issue is not kuchukia, it's kuuliza, why is Airtel not taking the market seriously? You remember 2016, 2017, 2018, the idea of an agent was very big. If you wanted mobile money to take off, the idea of an agent really made sense. I don't think it's the same case. You buy a SIM card, you activate M-Pesa, hautaionana na agent. But at that time, if I wanted to send and receive money, I had to go to an agent to withdraw na vitu kaa hizo. So I used to ask on my blog about, where do I get an Airtel agent, Airtel Money customer agent? Do you know from where I come from home, the nearest Airtel, they had a star what 5 agents near you. the nearest agent to our Airtel Money was 27 kilometers away. And it was an Airtel shop in Kisumu. And you will go there and queue. And the agents on the shop weren't even bothered. Unajua customer service here. Sijui nini. There's a day tulienda Airtel Money na tukaambiwa, we were with my parents, tukaambiwa wameenda lunch. So you are here as why is this company trying to compete with M-Pesa where an agent is literally at the gate? Nakumbuka shops zote zilikuwa na agent. So why should I give Airtel my time ya ku drive 27 kilometers to have Airtel Money ama ku withdraw ama kufanya nini when literally there is an M-Pesa agent kando ya mlango, there is an M-Pesa agent mbele ya church, shule iko na M-Pesa agent kutoka hizo. So my problem with the Airtel Money especially 2015 to 2017 was finding an agent was such a huge problem. 2, services was so bad. This is the time my Airtel line venye nilisema ya kwanza ili zima. Services was so bad. 3, even registering a complaint was so hard. And this was a time when Safaricom was really good with customer
service. Yes.
So that's why there was a trajectory positive for Safaricom, and Airtel was just stagnating ama not growing.
So actually, like 2 weeks ago, they opened a new shop. I remember seeing the press release from them. They opened a new shop in the CBD, and 2 things I picked from that press release.
Do you know exactly where this shop is?
So it's located on Gaborone Road, adjacent Nairobi Textiles. So and they talk about, so this brings the total number.
The CBD today, I'll go look. I need 5G to work.
Mimi naendaga Sarit.
On my phone.
But it's
so I'll switch my SIM card from the Infinix Note 40 Pro to a 5G phone.
So they're talking about, so this brings the total number of outlets, Airtel outlets in Nairobi, to over 2,600. Look at that number, 2,600.
In Nairobi?
Yes, in Nairobi, not across the country, but in Nairobi alone. So in Nairobi, with over 5,000 Airtel Money agents across Nairobi Metropolitan.
No,
5,000. Yeah, that's the thing.
Because even we had this clamor, M-Pesa agents should also work for these other people. Okay, we got that. We still have a lot of uptake.
I can tell you for a fact, sijawahi enda kwa Airtel Money shop yenye sio Airtel shop. Ina make sense. All the Airtel shops I've gone to ni Kisumu Mega Plaza, Sarit Center. I have never seen an Airtel Money agent venye naonanga M-Pesa agent kwa shop, kiosk na nini, sijawahi.
Because for M-Pesa utapata someone has like a shop here selling shoes, they can just become an M-Pesa agent.
But there have been arguments, I don't know. Airtel Money is free for very many transactions. So there's no leverage for an agent to join, because
how do they treat them?
What money do they make?
That should be handled by Airtel. While there's an incentive for us as ordinary customers to go in, the entrepreneur should be taken care of by Airtel, and Airtel should know how that arrangement goes.
So I guess there has been an issue around that, because business goes where business can make more money. So a kiosk seller will be like, naweza make in M-Pesa. And a kiosk seller will be like, hey, Airtel ni free, ama si make kitu. Pengine that has been the reason. I
love you look at how many Airtel Money users do we have. I'm curious to know the numbers.
No idea. Airtel has just, hapo kwa money, I don't know. Airtel Money is now, we now have interoperable pay bills. We now have interoperable till numbers, I guess. I should be hearing Airtel making more noise about that. Sending and receiving money on Airtel to Airtel is mostly free, I guess. Sending money from banks like I&M to mobile money wallets is free. So I think this was the time when Airtel ingekuja like with promos, with offers, with partnerships.
How do they entice people? Because
I have never been enticed to do it.
Sadly, if any one of us has something, say a medical funds appeal, funds drive, or they are bereaved and the fundraising for
everything
the funeral,
is
always a pay bill, or somebody needs school fees. It's always the pay bill. What incentives does Airtel have? Like, we are just fresh from the protest. Somebody could have just picked this and gone with it. Because top of my head, it's never crossed my head that if you are in a position where you need other people to contribute, you go to Airtel and get one of those.
Think of it this way. Loop rebranded last year but one. And then
it's last year. I remember us doing that episode in February.
And then they launched Loop to Loop pay bills. Loop where business can take a Loop pay bill, ama business can accept Loop payments na vitu hizo. You know, in the last your cycle, I've seen about 70.
I've seen lots of them.
businesses,
A lot of places I go,
accepting
you'll see loop.
payments,
Yeah.
And that's a bank yenye may launch their payment option last year. So Airtel,
Even the PesaPal we are talking about, there's a lot more uptake of PesaPal in places you go.
So you find sahi uta walk into a business na partnership ya loop iko kama sio ya payments ni app utapata discounts na nini wamepartner, but here you have the second biggest telco.
I know, because
hakuna partnerships zozote to talk
about. There are times I'll use an Airtel product, then just randomly just post a tweet about it, like, oh yeah, this product exists.
Yes,
and you see
the tweet ya premier plans.
Exactly,
everyone was like,
the engagement was crazy. I'm like, okay, we didn't know about this. So I mean, what is stopping Airtel from now aggressively just going into marketing and saying, okay, we have this product because they're nice products? I mean,
maybe CGU, to be honest.
Do they intentionally sabotage themselves? Because like the protests have provided the perfect opportunity for them to capture market share. Like when we are going to next see the CA quarterly reports, there should be significant uptick. But from where we see it and from the analysis I've had from you too, your experiences and everything, it's not like they're making any effort.
Let's acha tukue honest say. Airtel has 5G coverage, which is big. Right now ushago kwetu we have Airtel, we still don't have Safaricom. Safaricom inaangukanga to 3G ukiingia home. Airtel 5G still works even indoors. There is not a single day umesikia. Remember, this is a place where hakuna home fiber, hakuna nini. Hakuna a single day kuna track ya campaign ya Airtel imesimama kuambia watu router zetu by the sahi
3000
ni free. Ukichukua unapewa plan. Like plan, ukilipa plan unapewa router, unapewa power bank, unapewa nini. And who better to market power banks to for internet access? Is it people in CBD kama Kenya, ama ni watu wenye net zao upotea 1 week ushago?
And look at, for example, you have the Safaricom 5G plans. Look at what Airtel is giving us. So 10 Mbps for 3,500 is what I'm using. Then 20 Mbps for 5,000. Then 30 Mbps 6,500.
And
it's unlimited.
They have FUP, fair usage policies, but the 10 Mbps is 1 TB, 20 Mbps is 1.5 TB, 30 Mbps is 3 TB. This is way better than home fiber Safaricom FUP. So I guess it's just maybe self-sabotage.
Interesting. Any last words, anything we've missed from Airtel side?
I have no idea. One, I think if someone at Airtel watches this, maybe atuambie if they are down to sit down and explain. Maybe there are other things we don't know from internal side.
Especially I'd want to know what exactly they are doing regarding all of this, because these opportunities have presented themselves over and over again, because Safaricom and now it handles these things, keeps on being on the spotlight, but it's not like Kenyans are offered great options. It is almost becoming political, where you go to people and they tell you we also didn't have options. Much as we can debate specifics around that, but the facts mostly do add up. Because objectively speaking,
I can even add one thing. You remember at Safaricom 5G rollout? I remember I was in campus ama nilikuwa wapi, and 5G rollout ya Safaricom at the beginning was targeted at metropolitan areas and campuses. You remember, like you will hear kuna Airtel Safaricom 5G Maseno University, and you're like, why? Kuna Airtel 5G Safaricom 5G Kisumu, where Poly nini. And I remember it making sense to me, because remember there is Blaze for the youth, there is what. So you want the fastest speeds to the most demanding users. I don't know what Airtel 5G rollout plan has been like, who has been targeted. Still to date, hatujaona any offers around Airtel 5G specifically for customers, where you get 5G only bundles, not for the router. Two, when you have such a big capacity, because 5G one must support how much and such big bandwidth, and you're rolling out a service that gives you, unajua, for the longest time the space imekuwa about data. Space iliacha kuwa about mobile money, when of course they lost the war to Airtel Safaricom with 99% market share. But data, especially 5G data, brings them back to a level playing ground. If I can offer as much data and you can offer as fast data, we can compete on something and get our customers on different ways. But since 5G launch, hatujaona any serious promo ya 5G. Yes, you're calling yourself the 5G network, the smartphone network na nini, but I haven't seen that push to, can you use our network? I'm 100 bob if you're in a 5G area, get semi 5GB to test out with guys or things that we saw with 4G on Safaricom. And it's a time when M-Pesa is no longer physically needed on a SIM card. My phone right now has Airtel SIM card, but I can use M-Pesa because I already activated it. You don't need that tie into your SIM card anymore. You just need the data from your SIM card. So yeah, it's still Airtel's like space wakitaka kuitake, because there's so much opportunity in data. There's so much land that's not covered with fiber, not covered with Jamii Telco, sijui nini, and that's a space.
And even the payments as well. I remember last year they announced this, that they are now on eCitizen and all of that, and they're doing nothing about it.
For example, we have a lot of new phones that support eSIM, both on Android, both on Apple, and this is a chance here kusema you can scan our eSIM from the App Store and get our network. KYC can be done very well nowadays. You don't have to physically go to the shop the way I had to go for a premium plan. Airtel needs to stop living in the 2000s.
And for a company that has that kind of presence with their 5G, they are saying they have almost 700 sites in the country, and they're in about 40 counties.
Imagine.
So that's almost the entire country.
Just launch a plan here, university.
And their 4G coverage already covers the entire country.
And remember, Airtel does very well.
Because there's a time I was going to Mombasa recently, and because I had bought those many GBs of data when there was the last internet outage, I was actually predominantly on Airtel data because I need to use up these GBs. And I had a strong 4G signal the entire length, the entire 500 kilometers to Mombasa. So that's no longer a going concern.
I don't know.
Why are they not getting trash? Nick, anything that we have missed?
I remember when I first got that router and I shared it on my Twitter page. The next day I got almost 10 people in my DMs asking, where can I buy one? Where can I buy one? But on that aside, so recently, just I think 2 weeks ago, I remember Airtel announcing that they were activating the 2 Africa 2 cable, which of course they are, and I'm hoping this will help them actually now increase the internet, the coverage, to make the network more stronger. But I'll want to see them actually more go aggressively out and telling people about their products, because I think that's what they're doing. I mean, we all agreed here that they have very nice products, nice packages. Like 3,000 for this, that's a very good deal. And you can easily switch between 4G, 5G. That's very good. I think the power bank is one of the key selling points for that, right? So one thing I want to see them do is going aggressively out and telling people, oh yeah, we have these products. Like the premium products, they're very, very nice actually.
Unless maybe it makes more sense to have fewer customers paying. I don't know.
Because so many people actually using Airtel. I just thinking about how at home, nikipiga simu nyumbani, I use Airtel because Safaricom is. The last time I called Safaricom about our internet being banned, you we need a mast. Now for a mast, we need to talk to CA, all these things before. So a lot of things that Airtel needs to do to just make people aware about what they're doing. Like they launch products, send a presser, and that's it. Now, how do you sustain those conversations with their audiences and tell them, okay, by the way, we have these products, they're nice, they're happening, this is how to sign up, run some very aggressive TV ads and everything, just make your product known. Because I think that's what they're not doing.
The new generation inataka data, especially since we are the biggest tick.
Because for me, that was the biggest problem with the Premier when you shared. Because the Premier bundles compared to Safaricom Postpaid, which have been on, the Premier bundles, you get a lot more data. A lot less money.
I have never completed my data. I have about 100 and something GB, baby, because they roll over.
Oh, they roll over.
Yeah, they don't
say that. So Airtel kuna makuku kwa hiyo market.
Anyway, we can talk about Airtel, their deeds and misdeeds all day. It's a rolling conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. Wherever you'll get to see this podcast, you can leave your comment, what you think about Airtel, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, where they could improve. Again, like I said, this podcast is not sponsored by Airtel.
Yes.
Just us sharing our honest opinions as subscribers of the Airtel network, as users, and basically as people who share their thoughts on all things tech in the country. We'd also want to hear what your feedback regarding the podcast is. Wherever you get to see this, you can share it or you can tag any of us. I've been your host, Chenze Emmanuel.
Dickson Otieno.
And Nixon Kanali.
See you in episode 76.
Bye.